but then also to connect those pros with that next generation of leaders, which are those young women that will have an opportunity to be a part of the Futures program. We want to make sure that we are always putting the players first. We're always putting these young women first. And we care about them as people first. And then everything else will fall into place from there. The mission is obviously to, provide these women with other opportunities outside of being a professional lacrosse player.
The WPL is a two-pronged approach. One side of it is a platform for the players to play at the highest level possible, playing a brand of lacrosse that's both exciting and fits the athleticism of the sport. The other side of that is the junior development and having a Chasers program, a development program where these younger players can aspire to be WPLL players, can not only get out on the field and play, but also be mentored and learn traits such as leadership, character development, that whole side of it, merging the two. So merging your pro players with the development group to form one awesome league, a two-pronged approach.
It's a perfect opportunity for us to create programming that's going to help them develop personally and professionally. I mean, it's unbelievable the talent that's out there these days. We have Taylor Cummings, who obviously is a huge star in the game. Dana Dovey, I mean, she's amazing. She's got tricks up her sleeves. And so putting them in a position to play on a smaller field, making the game faster, the spectators are going to have a blast watching it. We're going to be able to, create mentors that can reach young. Given the level of play and the status of these women, we feel like it is our, responsibility with the reach that they have nationwide to give back.
I think the goal for me when I really talk about the foundation is to support and inspire an entire generation of young women, but using lacrosse as a vehicle to do it. And with the foundation,
The mission is obviously to, provide these women with other opportunities outside of being a professional lacrosse player.
The WPL is a two-pronged approach. One side of it is a platform for the players to play at the highest level possible, playing a brand of lacrosse that's both exciting and fits the athleticism of the sport. The other side of that is the junior development and having a Chasers program, a development program where these younger players can aspire to be WPLL players, can not only get out on the field and play, but also be mentored and learn traits such as leadership, character development, that whole side of it, merging the two. So merging your pro players with the development group to form one awesome league, a two-pronged approach.
It's a perfect opportunity for us to create programming that's going to help them develop personally and professionally. I mean, it's unbelievable the talent that's out there these days. We have Taylor Cummings, who obviously is a huge star in the game. She's got tricks up her sleeves, and so putting them in a position to play on a smaller field, making the game faster. This
is all the leadership and bravery programming that we'll do. It will support the junior pro division, and it'll support the Chasers. So the nonprofit side of the organization is really going to help us fulfill the mission of impacting thousands of girls and an entire generation of women's lacrosse players.
So what I want for these pro women are for them to feel that we are supplying them not only with the lacrosse experience. I think that's just the perk, but the main focus is really to provide them with opportunities to personally and professionally develop. And so for them to get that experience is definitely one of our main goals, but then also to connect those pros with that next generation of leaders, which are those young women that will have an opportunity to be a part of the Futures program. We want to make sure that we are always putting the players first. We're always putting these young women first, and we care about them as people first, and then everything else will fall into place from there.
Hi everyone, tuning in to WPLL opener between the Baltimore Brave and the Philadelphia Fire. This is Lauren Murray alongside Scott Glass here for your game day commentary.
All right, good to be here, Lauren.
Get it started with the opening draw here. Beautiful Navy Stadium. For anyone tuning in, there will be a number of new rules in play today and for the rest of the WPLL season, especially in the field setup itself. You'll notice that it's actually a shorter field. It's about 60 by 80 yards, with 15 yards or so behind the creases, which were formerly about 5 or 7 yards or so, which will lend to a little bit of a quicker speed of the game. That plus the restraining line will actually be the 50-yard line instead of that 30-yard line. In addition, there will be 6 players in each side of the offensive-defensive zones instead of the standard 7. So I expect to see a little bit more of a creative offense. Everything has to be a little bit more purposeful, and you have a little bit more space to work with.
So, Lauren, who's going to push transition here? Which team here has the most potential for that?
You know, I think they both have a good group of midfielders. You know, you expect to definitely see some legs from Taylor Thornton on the Baltimore Brave. Yeah. She's a Northwestern grad, was a senior when I was a freshman, so definitely familiar with her style of play.
Yeah, I noticed there's a lot of Northwestern names on both these rosters.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing to have the opportunity to play at the next level, and we noticed when all of the teams were drafted that there was a pretty good collection of different schools being represented.
That was a nice shot off the pipe.
Absolutely, and that'll reset the shot clock. It's another rule change here.
Did not know that one.
Yes, so it's a 60-second shot clock. Anytime that there is a firm change of possession, whether that's a save or a caused turnover. And there's our first goal.
Nice low to low.
It's Lauren Kahn, UConn graduate, close friend of mine. I got 1-0.
So you played at a pretty high level all college. What do you think it takes to make the adjustment to playing a league like this? After playing such a high level for 4 years, and then what's the big difference here?
Sure, I think, you know, you get used to everyone being good and everyone being fast and knowledgeable of the game. I think what sets this league apart, especially with a lot of these rule changes, is, you know, it's athleticism meets adaptability. And how can you be one of the first early adopters of these rules and really take advantage while some others are taking their time getting used to it? So it's just, you know, how can you use your brain and your body to be dominant all over the field?
Yeah, and I'm sure most of these scouts out here have coaching backgrounds, assistants, if not coaching in high school somewhere full-time. So, you know they're going to be thinking at the same time. There's a nice drive inside.
We're tied up at 1-1.
Yep.
Absolutely, and I think, you know, with a short season, you know, it's about 6 weekends here in the summer. I think having those coaching backgrounds. Jenna Collins is a Navy grad, so she's back at her, and she just graduated, so she's back at her home field one last time, which is super exciting for her.
That is great.
I would, you know, give a two to three limbs to get back on my home field one more time, besides alumni weekend.
Now, when you think about the fact that this stadium is probably their biggest outlet when they're here at the academy, too.
Absolutely.
You know?
Good physicality there by Daniela Trasco,
Oh, yeah.
BU grad.
Do you think there's a big difference these days with the ACC players versus the Big Ten?
Forming.
Right.
I think it's pretty competitive,
level of
to
play
be honest, across the board.
But
And I
you
think
love a
as
little
teams sort of
cross-league
flip
rivalry
around,
when you get on the field like
of course,
this, too.
Maryland, you know, recently joining the Big Ten, and well, the Big Ten even just recently forming. I think it's a pretty high level of play across the board. But you know, you love a little cross-league rivalry when you get on the field like this.
53 extra seconds there, so.
There's a good turnover takeaway and some transition.
But I agree, you got to keep them honest. Nice
No, I would've
knockdown
shot
by
that.
Courtney Waite. That's a UNC grad.
You do have
Great
you probably have
defender.
about 53 extra seconds there. So
Think twice about dodging against her.
she's not going to give
But I
anything
agree,
up
you got to keep them
topside
honest.
this week.
Definitely not.
Nice knockdown by Courtney Waite. That's a UNC grad. Great defender. Think twice about dodging
you go.
against her.
Working from behind
Yeah,
the
she's not going to give
the
anything
hang
up
up.
topside. Is she?
Came back to her strong
Definitely not.
hand. Put it right off hip.
I think we're going to see that a lot, especially with this added length behind the crease. You know, whereas previously it was more of a feeding position. I do think with that space, it's going to become a new point of attack
Put it right off
for
hip.
those Dodgers.
I think we're going to see that a lot, especially with this added length behind the crease. You know, whereas previously it was more of a feeding position. I do think with that space, it's going to become a new point of attack for those
So what's the
Dodgers.
strategy on this face-off right
It
now?
does look like there's more room back
So,
there.
Oh, yeah.
I know the
You can see
field's
that there's a little bit of a
shorter, but
mismatch here.
Yeah.
Just opens it up.
Personally,
Yeah, we'll see if
you
they
know,
end
there's
up
a
using
difference
all of it.
between winning it and losing it in the direction that you send this ball. But
So what's the
really,
strategy
you know,
on
at the end
this
of the day, the
face-off
winner
right
is,
now?
is who's coming up with it. So,
So,
sometimes players
you
will,
can see that there's
will
a little bit
stack
of a
and overload
mismatch
aside
here.
if they think that the ball is
Personally,
consistently going in a
you know,
certain
there's a
direction.
difference between
but
winning it and losing it in the direction that you send this ball. But really, you know, at the end of the day, the winner is who's coming up with it. So sometimes players will stack and overload aside if they think that the ball is consistently going in a certain direction. But at that point, you know, one of the players can tweak their hand positioning and their upward movement to actually, you know, manipulate the ball to go back towards that singular player, which we
Sure.
just saw right there.
And that was a great 2-on-1 play.
Yep.
And they set that up, and I watched her rotate back around to the backside. Are they going to try to play that, or is this a, you know, 1-on-1 GB or a 2-on-1 or a 3-on-3 most of the time on a strategy? Or is it just a who's winning?
It's just sort of a who's winning. I think it's definitely a case-by-case situation. Of course, you know, trying to play to your numbers as much as possible, but at the end of the day, it's just about getting it done and being gritty.
Speaking of gritty, this one with the ball is one of those.
Oh, yeah. Ooh,
Good defense.
little contact. No call, though. It'll be interesting. There's a little bit of an added risk now in the 8-meter. Any foul that occurs in the 8-meter, no matter where it is or what level of the foul it is, will result in an 8-meter directly on that center hash there.
Yeah.
You'll notice that the arc looks a little bit different,
It
that
is.
fan. Yep.
Looks like a basketball key
Sure.
these days.
Ooh, love a hustle play between McGarity and Zimmerman there. Alyssa Leonard.
And here comes some breakout transition.
Oh, yeah. Talked to Courtney Waite a little bit before the game about how crucial those human clears would be.
Oh, yeah. And she got that up fast. Great save.
Riser attempt. Taylor Thornton.
More Wildcat alumni.
It's a good matchup
That's a
right here.
Great split dodge.
Yep.
Great save.
Another fun rule in the WPLL is that goalies now have the ability to score, which they were previously not allowed.
Wow.
So if Gussie Johns gets that breakaway, you never know.
I want to see her cross the midline.
Yeah, right? Turn the tables on those attackers.
Absolutely. Just make space for her.
Good take. Way to get your hands free. I do think, even though it's just, you know, a drop off of one person from 7 to 6, it does open up the field quite a bit.
It tends to kind of balance out like the men's game more, so it's easier to understand. I think for some folks that have never really been part of fast-paced women's lacrosse,
Sure.
there's a lot of cutting to the ball nonstop, and there's a lot of ball movement. But when you sit down and look at it, and you look at this defense right now, you know, that you can see that in any NCAA Division men's team, the way they're playing it.
Everything has to be a little bit more purposeful.
Yep.
It'll be interesting to see those moments and highlights of real team chemistry, especially considering, with the exception of a few collegiate overlaps,
These guys just got together.
Yeah, for the first time.
It's like an all-star game.
And even from a coaching perspective, how do you prepare? How do you fast-track that chemistry process? Can you?
Well, I think Coach LaMonica, she's down there right now. She knows a lot of these people. I imagine this is going to be a matchup.
Sure, and a lot of Freed's Team USA girls as well.
Yep.
So
it's actually a great game to start the season off with.
Yeah.
2 great coaches, 2 good teams here, and they could play at any level, all these girls.
Sure.
How many do they carry now on the USA team, on that squad? What's
I
that
think
number?
the final is 18 that they end up traveling with.
Wow, that's competitive.
I know they cut it. It's, they go through a few rounds of cuts, 36, 25, and then I think they travel with 18 with maybe 1 or 2 alternates.
So we're going to see any NCAA spots, any NCAA candidates on that team, or is it going to be a lot of the pro girls?
I think there are some actually on it already. I know Marie McCool, UNC, recent grad, was on it. It changes year to year, and it really is about getting that best unit together because, there's no shortage of talented players, of course.
Oh, nice stick.
Beautiful.
Fire goal scored by number 20, Casey Foslet.
Tight game. I know it's hot down there, too. It is humid here, folks.
Just thankful that the thunderstorms held out for us. Might have just jinxed it, but we'll see. Casey Bachlet, UVA grad. We shared a high school experience. Bachlet's a great.
If you know lacrosse in the last 10 years, you know that last name.
Oh, yeah.
You're not getting away from it.
Brothers are all in the MLL.
Yep. All right, so here's that strategy again, trying to play this 2-on-1 face-off to number 1. This time it turned out the other way.
Sure.
And with some transition. Now I like the way 27 got out of the way in case she wanted to go to the goal. That's a great clear out for that player. Make space so they get it doubled. Good save.
Great ground ball. Communication will be so key here, as we were discussing. It's their first game really playing as a team, so the more that these guys can talk through, and especially those that are coaches and are really familiar about communicating efficiently, effectively. Another goal there.
Yeah, that's a great inside dodge, keeping it in your same hand and hitting that near pipe right over her shoulder. But playing in a lot of Lake Placid, Vail, Ocean City tournaments, and you have too, with people you never knew till you got off the bus. That one connection you make that first time with that person, and it's like you've known them your whole life.
Sure.
And you do it over and over again. That's the best part of that.
And for me, a lot of that always happened, waiting in line to go into a drill or at a water break and just taking a moment to really get to know someone and something about them, and that can help sort of form that connection even deeper.
Yeah, I think on the men's side, it took about a day for everybody to stop calling each other dude. Finally realized who they were under the face mask.
That is very true, especially, you get used to seeing the girls with the goggles, and then you see people, on the streets of Manhattan or wherever you're from, and you're like, I know you.
Turnovers are going to be key today. It's going to be tight, it looks like.
There'll be a lot of back and forth, especially with that 60-second shot clock already. I anticipate higher scoring games. Yep.
Oh. Nice.
Turning around the world.
Goalie did not move, did not flinch on that. Stood her ground, stayed at home. That was great.
You can expect some flair coming from Dana Dobie always. She was a Sports Center top 10 moment at the exhibition weekend in the fall.
So you're going to anticipate that over the shoulder.
Of course. It's funny how it's transitioned, though, and even in the college game, that used to be considered, flashy. But now I think it's being used in a much more strategic way where, if you're overextended past one of the far pipes, you actually realize that the stick has a better look at the cage than you might. So
it's more angle.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're teaching that too now at the on the other side of the fence because that's your right hand when you have no angle. You know, years ago you'd be yelled at and yanked off the field. For
yeah.
that. Now it's why didn't you do that? It's an easy clear.
Pretty good ball movement.
Nice two-man, I should say two-woman game.
Nice.
And you see how that the two-man game set that play up for the top side bounce shot. All fundamental.
All about exposing that defense, making him shift out of position.
So how do you defend that, Lauren? If you're on the pick, how are you gonna deal with that and anticipate a rollout or double? What do you do?
I mean, first, I think you need to have that support from the backside. There were a few players stacked up on the other side and not a lot of head swiveling from the defense.
Right.
So as soon as you are alone in that 2v2 situation, it's really then going to be coming down to talking through it. And if you can avoid the pick at all costs, you must. But I think, if they had that back end support, it would have been a different story.
That's a great ground ball.
Maybe one more pass there, cross crease.
That's a good out.
Errant shot will be corralled by Courtney Waite coming in.
And she's on ball a lot, isn't she?
Yep. You'll see her everywhere. I think there's two over.
Nice pass.
Beautiful. That upfield vision, so key. Oh, and another one.
Oh.
As long as you have the backup, though.
Yeah, they're tiring out this defense.
Sure. Figure you have 2 possessions left. Time to just lock it in, fight through fatigue.
Oh yeah. Well, if this is anything to start this league season off with games to come, I guarantee there's going to be some tight competition.
Here we'll see that first 8-meter. Oh, snuck it in.
Not moved off the traditional bounce shot.
Yep.
Might have even hit the pipe in the corner.
Fire goal scored by number 33, Maddie Crutchfield.
Maddie Crutchfield, a Duke graduate. You'll notice that the defenders have the right to the hash marks on either side of that center hash automatically.
Okay.
So you anticipate a few more quick releases, just like Maddie Crutchfield just demonstrated.
So they're making it closer to get the snap off quicker.
Sure.
Gotcha. That's a lot of pressure.
It is. It is. But of course, you don't always have to take it.
Talking to the wrong guy. I never saw a shot I didn't like.
I'm glad I said something because I would have listened to the game plan.
That's the first face-off that actually went outside that circle in a while. These guys are good.
You think about the evolution of the draw in high school, there were 4 pairs on the circle. It was very crowded. Now, of course, down to 2 pairs and the drawers themselves, and then everyone else has to stay behind those 30-yard lines.
So it seems to me over the years watching that those types of face-offs in the old days went straight up in the air and it was a lot of one-handed grabbing.
Yep.
These days it ends up on the ground a lot faster.
Yeah, it's become a little bit more physical in the air. And so that's on the draw taker and those circle girls to really communicate through. And our coaches always said, you know, send someone up and someone down.
Gotcha.
So that you have both planes covered.
All right, I got it. We're good.
It's Katie and Greeley, another Northwestern grad.
You see both?
It's Dabrowski, an Ohio Stater.
Sam,
And you got the whole party out here right now.
what's up? You're running handheld today. Yeah. You mind just running down there real fast? Assuming you're all right. Is that what it is?
Great chase. And that'll be the end of the first quarter. Another switch from standard NCAA play. The WPLL features 4 15-minute quarters with running time.
Anne Arundel Medical Center is Philadelphia 4, Baltimore 3.
So Lauren, you've lived through the transition of women's lacrosse changes a lot from high school, college, now you're playing pro. Acceptance of the goggles, from the wire level, from the plastic level and all that. And there's been a lot of talk about helmets. Speak to us.
I personally would prefer to continue to play without a helmet. I also have been fortunate enough to avoid any serious head trauma in my time. So, you know, maybe if I had had 2 previous concussions, I might feel differently.
Right.
But I have reason to believe that, you know, with helmets then comes shoulder pads, then comes a rib guard, and then, you know,
That was my next question.
Yeah.
If you start doing that, then do we just change the rules and start playing men's lacrosse? Because you guys could do it.
Definitely. I mean, I would mess with a long pole for sure. So if we're going for it, then might as well.
Long pole midi?
Yeah.
Is that what you want to be?
Absolutely.
They seem to have the most fun. They do all the running, but that's not, you know, you guys are not foreign to that. There's a lot more running in the women's game for
Sure.
everybody than there is in the men's game. But it's been a topic of conversation on a lot of levels: rec league, youth league, club, high school. And it seemed to me in the past that most of the injuries that were head injury oriented were in drills in the old days before the mask, you know?
Sure. And I wonder, it begs the question, you know, whose responsibility is it really to maintain the safety of the game? Is it the refs calling things a little bit tighter or setting the tone early? Is it the players, you know, to have that discipline where, you know, you want to be effective, but you don't want to hurt anyone? No one wants to hurt anyone out here.
I spent 7 years working for Pete Rogers and Mark Ford at Shamrock Lacrosse, Onyx, and Riddell. We brought forth the Riddell helmet to the lacrosse world on the men's side, and it took 7 years to get it to where we needed it to be based on what the players wanted, what the specs were, injury prevention. And the roundtable discussion back then was, you guys are concentrating on concussions based on helmets, and these sticks have been manufactured to the point where we can't get the ball out. So now we're teaching kids to knock guys over to pick up the ball because you can't get it out of their stick. And what
Such
do
a
they do?
great point.
They change the stick. You know, and I think this is going to be an ongoing thing for a long time, based on what we're seeing, you know, and what we'll see out here later on in the Bayhawks game and how they're emphasizing injury and
Absolutely.
you know, prevention.
That's a classic, you know, looking at a problem and it's actually a symptom of a different problem, right?
Unbelievable when we went through all that. You know, and Riddell had some of the best concussion studies going, you know, and a lot of it was from the chin to the ear.
Sure.
You know, and then we had to drill down on that and go, how does that happen, right? It's the difference between the men's face-off and the women's face-off and the way they position themselves.
Sure. So of course it's, you know, it's up in the air. We're not on the ground pinning
Right.
that ball. But I think the concept is the same, of course, of trying to get
the upper hand right there in that setup, and then trying to move that ball into a space that you dominate, of course, right? So it might not necessarily be decisively forwards or backwards towards your offensive or defensive end, but more so, where can I put this ball? How high, how far?
Gotcha.
Where either I or my circle teammates can really corral that with definitive control. Great save.
Yeah, that was. Now she's out on the ground ball, too. Good flip.
It's funny, you do have that 60 seconds, but of course, you know, we've seen goals scored in 6. So it's an interesting cadence to follow for sure.
It'll be interesting if this thing gets tight at the end, how the clock will factor in with possessions and who's going to be patient. So we've got something going on right now on the backside of the far pipe. We're trying to hang up 32.
Yep.
Good save.
And sometimes that's a tactic to even just draw shooting space, have that defender constantly crossing through.
Right.
Ooh, little offsides potentially.
No call.
Play on.
Now that's the women's game I'm used to.
Again, we're in that second period of 4. New rule change for the WPLL. Instead of 30-minute halves, it'll be 15-minute quarters. Which might not sound like it'll have a huge impact, but as a player, I totally think it does, especially mentally.
When do you think that factor kicks in?
Probably in the 3rd. And then, of course, between 3 and 4, always. But our coaching staff at Northwestern always said, you know, let's set the tone in the first 5 minutes. And that previously was 2 times a game. But now, you know, it's 4. So can you reset during those small breaks? And it gives coaches another opportunity. Oh, great goal there.
Amanda Johnson again. Part of the play.
USC grad.
Breaking goal, scored by number 7, Amanda Johansson.
Whoever thought you could go to USC, come out and play women's pro lacrosse, huh?
So great.
Yeah.
Just the expansion of the game. You know, previously dominated in the Long Island hotbed in the Baltimore area, really has expanded across the country. It's fantastic.
So Courtney Martinez-Cox was at Mount St. Mary's with me for a little while until she took off. And I can't remember who took her place, but it was for about 15 minutes, and she took the USC job.
Yep.
And
Great back check.
Everybody said, how's that going to work? And I guess we know now.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. That's a great look, almost.
Unlucky. There's newer programs, you know, sprouting up all over the country every year. Arizona's a new one. USC, of course, has now since established themselves. Lindsay Monday to thank for that one.
I'll tell you, the amount of women's lacrosse coaching jobs online are unbelievable.
Yeah.
That's a testament to the growth. It's probably past the men's because there are so many more opportunities in men's coaching out there. And it seems like everybody's moving out of college and then going straight into coaching on a lot of levels.
Sure. And you even see men, you know, joining the women's lacrosse coaching staffs. I remember, you know, looking up and seeing Steele Stanwyck and the Hopkins, you know, women's bench.
We got Steele who's doing it. That's a natural fit for him, I think, staying in Baltimore.
Sure.
Being part of that with, you know, his sister's great players, so, you know, he's going to get a lot of help there.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, you have Ricky. You know, Georgetown.
Good friend of mine, Ricky Freed, when he first took that job. I actually worked with Aaron Wellner at Shamrock for a while.
Cool.
That was nice. And it was kind of all in the family as this whole thing started to explode.
Both Ricky Freed and Sonia LaMonica coming off NCAA appearances this year. You know, they have to be excited to be back here in a competitive state again.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Little chip on the shoulder, you know, of course, when you're eliminated, so it's always great to rejoin the field.
Oh, yeah.
That's what you live for.
It's
a lot of that going on right now with a lot of season
Fire goal scored by number 7.
a lot of championships that weren't won. You know, a lot of kids that have the chance to make some Under Armour All-American teams,
Sure.
some Free State teams, and you live for that after the season's over.
Absolutely.
You know, it's one more step.
See some adjusting on the circle here.
Yeah, this is a straight up 2v2.
Powerful draw. Of course, those players behind the restraining line are not released until possession is officially granted by the officials, but they can, you know, engage as soon as that ball crosses that line. Great save.
All right, here comes the first cutter through.
Hannah Nielsen there calling for a little bit of a slowdown for her Philly team. She, of course,
That's a
recently
great
took on
play. Look at that.
a good backup, still alive. A little unlucky release there, but they'll keep it. Shot clock dwindling down to 20.
This will be the first factor I think we've seen.
I don't think that hit anything. Yep, still 7 seconds, 6.
Yep.
And sometimes you'll see, you know, if the clock's winding down and there's no way you're going to be able to get a high percentage shot off or a safe shot off. Of course, you don't just want to shoot, you know, in the direction of any of these girls.
Right.
You may see some teams elect to toss that ball into the corner of the field and just get their middies back into the defensive end.
Right, make them clear it.
Absolutely.
Well, that was the first shot violation of the season.
Yep. Great redefend effort there by Karen Maurer, Duke grad. Again, that crease hang up. Shot attempt. Great transition by this Philly team. One more. Well executed.
That was really nice. What happened here? We get a penalty on that too.
Yeah, that'll be a shooting space violation.
So they wave the goal off?
Yes, if, my understanding is if that shot had gone in, that continuation would take effect.
Gotcha.
Which is also relatively new in the collegiate game as well. Which was always frustrating as a player, you know, when you muscle through some physicality, get that goal in, and then they call it back, and then maybe you flub your 8 meter. And
right.
so
right.
you're walking away with bruises and 0 goals. Pretty tightly matched game so far.
I don't think there's one mismatch out here.
Yeah.
Nice.
Great feed.
Camping out on the back door.
Yep.
Nice quick stick. And taking advantage of a rotating defense.
Yep, and it was timed perfectly. You notice that she didn't release behind the cage until she had made eye contact with the feeder. And Caitlin Maltabano, great vision there. Towson grad, coached by Sonia LaMonica again, so
Right.
Great for her to have that relationship continue, but really, really nice timing there. Great pass connection.
And we're knotted up again. 5-5. Face-offs are important in this game right now. It's all about possession.
Sure. And there are a number of different strategies, of course. There's Alyssa Leonard doing what she does best.
That's classic, isn't it?
A little change up. Philly picks it up off the ground. Great speed. Again, utilizing that newly allotted space behind the cage.
I love that hedge slide by 15 to stop that top side move.
Absolutely.
And then she came back to her player.
A little bit of contact right on that 8 meter line. And she will be awarded an 8 meter free position.
Sorry, that was 16. Not for the Flyers, for, here she is. Morgan Stevens.
Unlucky, tried for the second attempt.
It looks like we're pressing out on everybody, on the adjacents. Good check.
The more you can get a stick in those passing lanes, and even if you're not covering it fully, just to make it look like you are.
Right.
It's all about deception, both offensively and defensively.
Yeah, that's why I thought that head slide was great. Yeah, it's really hard to teach.
That instinct. I found even from, both the men's and women's NCAA finals, the defenses were pushing out. And it's nice to see, a position group that previously might have been looked at as a more passive position and reactionary position to be a little bit more directive.
Yeah, I think you're right on the money on that. As we watch another really nice take, the pack-it-in mentality with some of these guys who are really big and strong and only need about 2 feet of time and room, it kind of hurts you when you pack it in, and you're giving those guys a lot of room to shoot. So I think some coaches have kind of adjusted and said, get out on these guys, instead of letting them have that shot. Let's make them earn it.
Yeah. And I think the only exception there, of course, would be if you're a person down in a yellow card situation.
Right.
And then absolutely, you have to zone it out and cover as much ground as you can.
And we saw a lot of zones, too, on the men's side this year as well. And I think that is a big trick, for the shot clock to get engaged as well. So there's no matter how they change the rules in men's and women's lacrosse, coaches and the players always figure out a way around it.
Sure. And you figure with the women's game especially, where previously you aren't guaranteed that ball back because, you could stall as long as you wanted.
Right.
Now, you can take a little bit more of a risk and put some pressure on and know that, in 60 seconds you'll likely be getting that ball right on back.
Yeah, keep your chin up.
Yeah.
Because it does change quickly. It's something we go through with the guys all the time.
Sure.
You kind of have to approach it like an ice hockey type mentality. It's always coming back.
Yep.
That's a great move, finalizer, but great defense on that.
It is certainly an art to avoid falling down in that crease circle there.
Well, I think number 2 from Boston College, that's a great shot.
Great shot,
That's
yep.
great.
Changing levels.
Number 2 from Boston College, I think in the semifinal.
Sure.
That was an unbelievable ankle breaker.
Sam Apuzzo,
Yeah.
who recently won the Thornton.
Yep.
Yeah, well deserved.
Unbelievable.
Very impressive.
Scored by number 7, Amanda Johansson.
Johansson again, USC grad. She released that ball from, between her knee and her hip, which, is less standard. Of course, you're used to seeing that extension come from top down, so I would imagine it's a little bit harder to read because you can really put that ball anywhere, which she did.
Oh, and it's tight, too.
Sure. The draws have seemed to be pretty evenly matched. As far as possessions go, it feels pretty balanced.
Yeah, that's the second one that's gone into the restraining line area. That's hard to do.
And that could be a strategy also, against... Oh, great. 2 quick ones there.
Yeah, that was great transition.
It's a game of runs, right?
The most fun thing in men's or women's lacrosse is a fast break.
Yeah.
And the more we get to see those, the more people want to play.
It's also, the most heartbreaking if it doesn't work out. I can remember my basketball days rushing up the court, only to brick a layup. But like we say, you have to have that next play mentality.
You do. We've all been that midfield that throws into that attackman and then wondering, why did I do that?
Yep. Some of these long-distance draws can be a little bit of a strategy if you're going up against someone who is particularly good at self-drawing.
Right.
So to just try to get it out of their sphere of access
is the first priority right away.
Absolutely.
This is, I think, one of the first and 4 that actually stayed within the circle.
Yep. Taylor Thornton chasing that down. Taylor Thornton and Alyssa Leonard getting another chance to work together again.
Yeah.
I believe they overlapped for 2 years, or 3 years perhaps, at Northwestern.
How much fun are they going to have?
They're great.
Look at this. Bam.
Beautiful.
All right, so it looks like Baltimore's definitely broken down the Philly defense in the transition scene here.
It seems to be they're benefiting really out of those fast breaks.
Yeah.
And that's all going to come down to communication, getting set and matched up on the Philly side.
Really nice to have a lefty.
Yeah. Brooke Griffin, a Maryland grad.
But you can see the unselfishness coming out in this Baltimore team. I don't think that the ball's been in anybody's stick for more than 3 or 4 seconds, no matter what's been going on. So Philly might be calling a timeout, regroup here.
I think that's a good move. Never hurts to chat it out, take a little bit of a breath.
This is the longest and the largest lead we've had so far in the game.
But who knows what will happen. Earlier today, the New York Fight played the New England Command, and I believe the Fight was up between 5 or 6 goals at the half, and then New England Command pulled it out in the end.
Where was that game? Where was it played?
It was at a high school in Baltimore, just 40 minutes away or so.
All right.
But yeah, Command won it 13-10.
So this is going to be a competitive season, competitive
Absolutely.
summer for these girls. So because of this league now and the other one as well, how do you think that's going to affect some of the more popular summer events that a lot of these girls would be going to in June and July? We're not going to see them, or are they going to let these guys play in those events?
Yeah, a lot of the events are being organized around tournament play because a lot of the players, of course, are collegiate coaches as well. So I think, it's just going to be a matter of coordinating availability and getting everyone, all those key players on the field, and then just having fun. At the end of the day, this is such a blessing to be able to compete at such a high level. I remember, middle school, high school, there wasn't a league to look up to after college. So, you figure when you graduate, that'll be it for you. But this is super special, and the WPLL has done a really amazing job of extending the programming even beyond the field. There's leadership training and life skills, that you may not have gotten in a traditional educational system. How do you negotiate for a raise, or how do you, self-brand, So it's been a great program so far to be a part of and to have access to that, as well as, they're developing the WPLL Futures program, which is for high schoolers.
That's great.
And, it's a really nice connection between the pros and getting that trickle down into the younger age groups.
We had that similar experience years ago when I was playing for Team Toyota on the men's side before the men's pro league started, and the women's Toyota team, I think, they could have been this that we're watching right now, and their input into the community and the things they were doing at the high school, all those girls were college coaches, were high school coaches, and you could see the things start to blow up right then.
Yeah.
And we knew when we were watching the girls play in Vail, Placid, Ocean City, we were watching a women's pro team, because nobody could beat them.
Yeah. Woo.
Oh, nice shot.
Beautiful riser. Taylor Thornton.
Top shelf, stick side.
Made possible by that really quick draw control from Amanda Johansson.
Yeah.
No bobbling there. Again, we're seeing that ball movement by the Braves.
So here comes, is this the second midfield unit coming out for Philly?
Looks like it.
Yeah. If these guys could do some damage here for a minute or two, they may be able to get back in the game.
And I find that, it doesn't even have to be a goal to really change that momentum. Sometimes it's a hustle play by a teammate, and, it's you're selling out, I want to sell out for you. So it could really come from any position, anywhere on the field or on the sideline. They just need that little bit of light to break through.
With this group out there right now, and the coaches and the programs they all come from, there's nothing but sellout artists here.
Yeah.
Everyone will go full blast when they have to.
And that's the expectation. Beautiful.
I love that kind of face-off.
Gotta take it.
Gotta do it.
Absolutely.
Might want to shoot for the bottom corners, but hey, that's the coaching.
Top shelf looks better.
It sure does on the highlight. I don't know what's in her contract, though, Good look. Nice save.
Great save. Really stepping out there, taking up a little bit more space, cutting that angle.
Oh.
Pick-off opportunity.
They needed that. Nice save.
And again, I think, however this score goes, what you're not going to see on the field is anyone hanging their heads or acting out.
Right.
This is a very professional group that expects the best behavior from everyone out
Right.
here. Sportsmanship will be
the privilege
key.
and the honor piece of this, that's what they all have right now. And being the part of the start of it, what kind of impression they're making on all these girls out there watching and everybody else too. It's really important.
Sure. Shot opportunity there by Katie and Grilly. Just nicked the pipe, so we'll get a fresh shot clock.
And that's great defense on 7 there. And they made a nice switch. Got to communicate on the switches.
Yep.
Nothing from behind. Let's see if Philly can do something from up top with this second midfield unit. I think they're fired up. Here we go, creating some space.
Great challenge defensively,
Yeah,
and the
that was
takeaway.
tough. Look at that.
And you'll see those 3 middies from the Brave traveling in a pack.
Right.
Zimmerman, great catch.
And these guys do not have to score right away. They can work it around and really kill this Philly defense.
Yep.
Well, then there's that.
Happens.
Maybe we should have shot it.
It's all about how you respond, right?
I can't tell you how many times I've called a timeout, put everybody I needed on the field, called the play, had everything going, and your best guy throws it out of bounds.
Sure.
You know.
Point blank shot stopped there by the Brave. Transition back upfield to the offensive end.
Stalwart on defense, number 15. Not on her watch.
So with that adjustment of the restraining line to the 50, it's a shorter ride.
Yeah.
So, if you're not in the right position early,
You're toast.
you're toast, exactly.
2-3 steps and it's over.
Sure.
Nice move, good D. I like how they're playing defense with their bottom hand as opposed to the top of their sticks.
Got
Look at
hung up
that.
there. Beautiful.
That was just some great high-low, changing levels, moving across the crease and getting
That's a perfect balance of power and finesse there of Brooke Griffin. It was a bouncer. She was coming around. She's pretty close to the goal, but, that ball traveled through quickly and decisively.
But she gained angle by cruising across and not getting in. Nobody picked her up. There wasn't a slide. So, you take it as far to the front as you can. We try to teach that on the men's side. It is difficult. There's a lot of no-angle shooting. And they have a ton of time, Another face-off win.
Good setup 4v3 for a split second.
Again.
Beautiful.
Wow.
And that's where you'll see that continuation rule come into effect. So there was a foul called on the play, but that goal will stand.
So we face, instead of go to the line, we'll face it off. Wave the penalty off.
Ready to go. Scores by number 44, Janet Collins. Assistant number 1, Laura Zimmerman. Collins from Zimmerman.
I love that face-off. And they're on it again, it looks like. This is a tough GB scrap.
Sure. And time and time again, we're seeing it's not coming out of that air nice and clean.
Right.
It's popping out. Have to be ready.
All right, here's an opportunity for Philly.
Can they convert?
Oh. We gained possession, though.
Pretty good look for Hannah Nielsen. Coming down on the move right there in the middle between the pipes.
Last minute of play in the second quarter.
So what do you think Philly's going to try to do here? You got the shot clock going against you with 50 seconds. You have 56 seconds left. You just go right to the rack line?
I think it's going to be a sweep here. Try to overload if Ngurli cuts through. Maybe not.
There it is.
Oh, beautiful.
Great job. Nice save.
Sometimes it's just that extra second to see where the goalie is, moving position, you know, throw a little head fake or a hitch and get that ball around her.
Yeah, these two goalies, though, were really savvy. They have not changed their levels at all with some of this, you know, tricky stuff that's going on out there. And that was another one.
Philly on the ride there, thought they were going to get that takeaway, but the ball will stay with the Brave. Ooh.
There's a nice downfield dodge. You got doubled, though.
Little over-the-head check is always a gamble. You lose your body positioning. Another one.
And there you have it.
So we'll head into halftime.
Quarter of play. The score brought to you by today's Gateway title sponsor, Anne Arundel Medical Center. It's your Baltimore.
The mission is obviously to, you know, provide these women with other opportunities outside of being a professional lacrosse player.
The WPL is a two-pronged approach. One side of it is a platform for the players to play at the highest level possible, playing a brand of lacrosse that's both exciting and fits the athleticism of the sport. The other side of that is the junior development and having a Chasers program, a development program where these younger players can aspire to be WPLL players, can not only get out on the field and play, but also be mentored and learn traits such as leadership, you know, character development, that whole side of it, merging the two. So merging your pro players with the development group to form one awesome league, a two-pronged approach.
It's a perfect opportunity for us to create programming that's going to help them develop personally and professionally. I mean, it's unbelievable the talent that's out there these days. We have Taylor Cummings, who obviously is a huge star in the game. Dana Dobie, I mean, she's amazing. You know, she's got tricks up her sleeves. And so putting them in a position to play on a smaller field, making the game faster, the spectators are going to have a blast watching it. We're going to be able to, you know, create mentors that can reach our next generation of young female leaders. Given the level of play and the status of these women, we feel like it is our, you know, responsibility to, with the reach that they have nationwide, to give back.
I think the goal for me when I really talk about the foundation is to support and inspire an entire generation of young women, but using lacrosse as a vehicle to do it. And what the foundation will support is all the leadership and bravery programming that we'll do. It will support the junior pro division, and it'll support the Chasers. So the nonprofit side of the organization is really going to help us fulfill the mission of impacting thousands of girls and an entire generation of women's lacrosse players.
So what I want for these pro women are for them to feel that we are supplying them not only with the lacrosse experience. I think that's just the perk, but the main focus is really to provide them with opportunities to personally and professionally develop. And so for them to get that experience is definitely one of our main goals, but then also to connect those pros with that next generation of leaders, which are those young women that will have an opportunity to be a part of the Futures program. We want to make sure that we are always putting the players first. We're always putting these young women first, and we care about them as people first, and then everything else will fall into place from there.
what do you desire? What makes you itch? What sort of a situation would you like? So I always ask the question, what would you like to do if money were no object? How would you really enjoy spending your life? Well, it's so amazing. As a result of our kind of educational system, crowds of students say, well, we'd like to be painters, we'd like to be poets, we'd like to be writers, but as everybody knows, you can't earn any money that way. Another person says, well, I'd like to live an out-of-doors life and ride horses. I say, do you want to teach in a riding school? Let's go through with it. What do you want to do? When we finally got down to something which the individual says he really wants to do, I will say to him, you do that. And forget the money. Because if you say that getting the money is the most important thing, you will spend your life completely wasting your time. You'll be doing things you don't like doing in order to go on living, that is, to go on doing things you don't like doing, which is stupid.
The mission is obviously to, provide these women with other opportunities outside of being a professional lacrosse player.
The WPL is a two-pronged approach. One side of it is a platform for the players to play at the highest level possible, playing a brand of lacrosse that's both exciting and fits the athleticism of the sport. The other side of that is the junior development and having a Chasers program, a development program where these younger players can aspire to be WPLL players, can not only get out on the field and play, but also be mentored and learn traits such as leadership, character development, that whole side of it, merging the two. So merging your pro players with the development group to form one awesome league, a two-pronged approach.
It's a perfect opportunity for us to create programming that's going to help them develop personally and professionally. I mean, it's unbelievable the talent that's out there these days. We have Taylor Cummings, who obviously is a huge star in the game. Dana Dobie, she's amazing. She's got tricks up her sleeves. And so putting them in a position to play on a smaller field, making the game faster, the spectators are going to have a blast watching it. We're going to be able to, create mentors that can reach our next generation of young female leaders. Given the level of play and the status of these women, we feel like it is our, responsibility with the reach that they have nationwide to give back.
I think the goal for me when I really talk about the foundation is to support and inspire an entire generation of young women, but using lacrosse as a vehicle to do it. And what the foundation will support is all the leadership and bravery programming that we'll do. It will support the junior pro division, and it'll support the Chasers. So the nonprofit side of the organization is really going to help us fulfill the mission of impacting thousands of girls and an entire generation of women's lacrosse players.
So what I want for these pro women are for them to feel that we are supplying them not only with the lacrosse experience. I think that's just the perk, but the main focus is really to provide them with opportunities to personally and professionally develop. And so for them to get that experience is definitely one of our main goals, but then also to connect those pros with that next generation of leaders, which are those young women that will have an opportunity to be a part of the Futures program. We want to make sure that we are always putting the players first. We're always putting these young women first. And we care about them as people first. And then everything else will fall into place from there.
What do you desire? What makes you itch? what sort of a situation would you like? So I always ask the question, what would you like to do if money were no object? How would you really enjoy spending your life? Well, it's so amazing. As a result of our kind of educational system, crowds of students say, well, we'd like to be painters, we'd like to be poets, we'd like to be writers, but as everybody knows, you can't earn any money that way. Another person says, well, I'd like to live an out-of-doors life and ride horses. I say, do you want to teach in a riding school? Let's go through with it. What do you want to do? When we finally got down to something which the individual says he really wants to do, I will say to him, you do that. And forget the money. Because if you say that getting the money is the most important thing, you will spend your life completely wasting your time. You'll be doing things you don't like doing in order to go on living, that is, to go on doing things you don't.
Whatever you're good with, we can bring you in between quarters.
Opening up the third quarter here. Baltimore Brave again with the scoring advantage. From a coaching perspective, what do you think the conversation was in that Philly bench?
I think those guys have to figure out how to settle down, work the ball around, find the mismatches. I think that they have to, maybe play a little bit more aggressively on defense. There you go.
Pretty good ball movement there.
Yeah, and realize in this game at their level, 6 goals is not something you can't overcome in a couple minutes.
Of course, especially with that 60-second shot clock.
Right. So I think they need to shoot more. And they're not going to score unless they do, and I think that's what we're going to see, hopefully. I'd like to see their second midfield get into it a little bit more.
Yeah, what about defensively? Again.
Well,
How do they stop this firepower coming from the Baltimore offensive end?
I mean, in that situation right now, you don't want to give her top side because that's what she wants. She cuts inside and goes for the inside pipe. You're hoping your goalie's going to make that stop.
Of course.
But now I go back to... What would you say now? After that halftime speech?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think sometimes it's about going back to the basics and, force those low angles. And, maybe don't get so caught up in all of the footwork and the technique and just go back to, I'm not going to let you get a point-blank shot on goal, and just make it a mentality and commit to it.
In that one-on-one situation, I think that's the best thing you can do, and at least just drive her to the backside of the goal and end it.
Sure. And as long as Alyssa Leonard keeps dominating this draw circle, it's going to be really hard for Philly to come back in.
Yeah, she definitely likes putting it in the air. That seems to be working for the Baltimore team very well.
Sure.
If I was Philly, I'd try to put this thing on the ground and put it in space, and let's make it a 3-on-3 scrap at least.
Totally agree.
And put it on their side of the midfield line too.
Every game possession is another body shot, if you will.
Yeah. That's just
that's back to back from Laura Zimmerman.
And she's coming from the left side. She's coming from the right side. So
she's one of those super hard to mark and predict.
So what do you do with that? Do we have to slide from the inside to stop that?
It's hard because for every solution that you have, she's going to create another problem for you defensively. But I think it's going to be about, getting to her hands, putting some pressure on. And maybe, it's not waiting until she catches the ball to apply that pressure, but giving her a little bit more before she has the opportunity.
Hold on, I got a guest speaker coming in here. We have Kyle Harrison coming in to do some broadcast fun.
Love it.
Nice to see you, brother. Good.
As we set up for this next draw. Kyle, welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Of course. So great to meet you. Excited to have you.
Ooh.
And you might just be the good luck charm that Philly needs to get back in this game, because that was pretty instantaneous.
They're so talented. I haven't had the opportunity to watch up close like this in quite some time. My older sister played, And then obviously at Hopkins, I got to watch some games. That's incredible.
Sure. And you have a game coming up later this evening. Obviously, you've played on some of the biggest stages possible. You know, national championship under your belt at Wharton, MLL All-Stars. You know, what do you think is sort of that recipe for success competing at such a high level?
Just staying at it, right? Like, I think it's a process, and it doesn't happen overnight. And, you know, from the stuff you do on the field to recovery to the film room to the weight room to nutrition, it just doesn't stop. And
Sure.
so making a commitment to all of it is really how you get to the next level.
Cool. And what do you see as an opportunity for the women's game to explore into this professional realm?
Well, look, I mean, these ladies are so athletic and skilled that the game is really fun to watch. Again, I'm remembering back to my sister. I mean, that's a really long time ago, but I don't remember it looking like this. And
Sure.
I got into the women's game a lot recently, just in looking at all the Instagram clips that are happening in college game, and then obviously in the pro game and with the women's national team. And they're just so skilled and talented and athletic, and it's a fast game. It's exciting, and so this is incredible. I mean, this is the natural evolution of the game right now.
Absolutely. And even speaking more generally about just media coverage and access to all of that you just mentioned,
Yeah.
you know, how is it changing for the game in general?
I think it's great for lacrosse, right? Like, it's easy to...
Ooh. Whew. That was a beautiful, beautiful release coming from Hannah Nielsen, I believe, on the Philly side.
I mean, like, that was left-handed low to high, right?
Very quick release. My goodness. Northwestern graduate, University of Michigan head coach, first year. That's incredible.
I was just going to say, just even a shot like that, it's absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
Low to high, left-handed. You know, I think as a men's player, knowing how difficult that is to do with a women's stick,
Sure.
and how consistently they're able to do it, it's incredible to watch.
For sure. And I think, you know, we're even seeing just heightened athleticism across sports. You know, there's the ongoing debate right now on who's better, LeBron or MJ. Where do you stand?
I stand squarely in the middle. I grew up with MJ,
Smart man, yeah.
you know, and now LeBron's the guy, but I stand squarely in the middle. I like them both.
It's a different game.
Yeah, absolutely. Ooh.
Great one-handed handle there. Again, these players that are not involved in the draw on the circle or whatnot, that have to stay behind the restraining line, cannot enter with their bodies until possession is granted. But you are perfectly capable of extending an arm over that line, as we just saw by, I believe it was Kelsey Sheridan, UMass grad.
Ooh.
And a nice answer back. Coming into the second half with a little bit of energy.
Oh, yeah.
Both ends. It's nice to see.
I mean, they make such high-level plays look routine. You know, it's pretty wild.
Sure.
I play with a guy, Tom Schreiber, who does the same thing. It just makes these ridiculously high-level plays look really easy and simple, and you wonder why you can't do it. They're doing the same thing.
Absolutely. And you have a ton of experience, you know, with players and a lot of coaches in the game who, you know, your rivals in college and now your teammates. Talk a little bit about the culture and what that energy and vibe is like on the field for those guys that you've seen before and you've crossed paths with.
Yeah, I think that's the fun of professional sports, right? Especially in our sport, with it being so small and a niche sport, you guys play against each other in college. You develop these rivalries. You don't like each other, and then everybody gets on the same pro team, and you have to figure out not only how to coexist, but how to have good chemistry and form yourself a winning franchise. So I think in Ohio, we've really prided ourselves in trying to form the right culture, get the right guys in, and I think that's why we've been successful the past few years.
Absolutely. And you think, too, you know, it's a very small percentage of players that, you know, go on to play in college. Of course, it gets even smaller at the pro level. You have to figure there's some sort of a common thread between all of these guys and all of these girls out here today. You know, that drive that keeps you going. And so we always laughed at Northwestern. You know, a few of us had some overlapping schools that, you know, were our second, third picks. Right. And, you know, you could have been teammates on a different team. And, you know, it's just about people and getting to know each other.
100%. And I think, like you just said, all the men and women that are fortunate enough to end up playing professionally, it's because they love it, right? They love everything about it, from the process of playing to training to forming those relationships with people that you might not have gotten along with in college, all that stuff. You have to really commit to it. And, the men and women that do that, that's exactly what they all do. Cool.
Great save. What we just saw there was another rule change for the WPLL. There's no backfield allowed. Once the team advances into the offensive zone, they are not permitted to go back. Thank you so much, Kyle Harrison, for jumping in.
Of course.
And
Thanks
good
for
luck
having
this
me.
evening.
Ooh, my goodness. Sheesh.
The good luck charm for the Philadelphia Boys. Just departing. We'll have Scott jump back in here in a second. Beautiful goal by Alyssa Leonard. We have Scott back with us.
Wow, you guys had some really, really good convos there. That's always fun having Kyle around.
Yeah, he's great. Great player. Great insights, seeing the game from all POVs. And there's still an 8-goal gap or so, but it seems like, it seems very competitive on the field still. There's definitely a fight left in this Philly team.
Yeah, it's too bad they hit the pipe on that last break. They really needed that
textbook.
one. Nope.
And another unlucky moment there, but let's see if they can keep it. Nope.
There's a good back check.
Great. Upfield, looking for it.
Get rid of it.
We're going to start to see that fatigue sitting in.
Yeah, so a couple shoulders are starting to slouch a little bit.
Yep.
One hand's on sticks. And
of course, the first thing to go is that communication, right, which is so key. Trying to catch your breath, but...
Hey, one of the most important things in both these games, men's and women's, is being in shape.
Sure.
And, the fourth quarter, when you got to concentrate on breathing instead of playing lacrosse, it's a tough way to go.
Loose ball.
Look at this. They're so unselfish.
They seem to be super in sync, too, which is remarkable for a first meeting.
Oh,
beautiful goal.
Man.
And when it pays off like that, it's all the more incentive to continue to play unselfishly, right?
Well, everybody's getting a piece of it now. We got a lot of different scorers.
And 16 goals, in the third quarter is already a lot. How do you think the 60-second shot clock is affecting, just the amount of shots that are being taken?
It looks like they're taking a lot more quality shots than if you would bad shots. I mean, we struggle constantly, trying to figure out how to not take the first available shot and take the best shot, when you're working it around. I think at this point in time, I haven't seen a bad shot from this Baltimore team because of the Philly defense. They're giving them so much time and room. And the one-on-ones have been killing them.
Yeah.
One-on-ones killing them.
And even if you see something that looks like a bad shot, it's actually probably more likely to be just outstanding goalie play.
They have been both great. Philly goalie's been getting a whole lot more on her end, though,
sure.
No doubt.
Bodies are starting to fly out there.
These guys get the ball off the deck faster than anybody I've seen.
I mean, look at that speed.
Wow, good save.
Great save.
All right, so my question to you now is, if you're in the position of the Brave, and you got another quarter to go here too.
Sure.
So what do? You know everybody on the other team. You don't want to run this thing up to 20, 30 goals, but yet there's going to be a shot clock. How do you coach this team All-Stars right now?
I think you can use this as an opportunity to think a little bit long-term and try out some new things that you maybe want to input for later games. But, I wouldn't expect this Philly team to give up. So you still have to be in an attacking mindset. I think, it'll be a little bit more exploratory in some of the offenses that they're running here.
Right. you see the Maryland defenders, and they take the back step and the drop step back, and that really helps them defend these one-on-one moves.
It's really such a great combative tactic to speed. Because, of course, these attackers are setting up their moves with a certain distance between them and their defender that they're gauging for. So if you disrupt that plane and that distance, you can actually maybe force some vulnerability for that attacker.
I was going to ask you about that, the speed differential. In the women's game, is it more comfortable to get that, driving 20-foot, 20, 30-foot running start, or are we going to stutter step and face dodge through it? Looks like most of these girls have a great first step.
Yeah, and it depends on your matchup and how you're feeling and what point of the game it is, and all of those factors coming in at once to really have a fair amount of judgment that's happening in about a split second of real time.
I mean, what I'd like to see here from the rest of the game from the Brave is assisted goals.
Yep.
That's kind of, nice check.
Some great physicality.
Last minute of play in the third quarter.
Well, you said they weren't going to give up, so.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. That's just a great, running on the curl, going top side, low to high.
Dana Dobie's going to be a leader for this team, vocal and through her performance, her own actions, absolutely.
And I think the urgency has kind of run out a little bit here at the end of the third quarter.
Brave goal scored by number 27, Dana Dobie. Assist number 44, Jenna Collins. Brave goal, Dobie from Collins.
So great to be calling Jenna Collins' name so much in her home stadium.
Yeah, it's a great thing. Who would have thunk that 10 years ago?
Right.
So they got one. It's probably their best
opportunity.
Best opportunity since the pipe shot.
Brought to you by today's game day title sponsor, AAMC.
3 down, 1 to go.
Baltimore Braves, 17.
We likely won't see it in this game, but there are also some changes coming up for, a tie situation and overtime. So the first round would be a 5-minute 6v6 full field, sudden death period. And then at the end of that, if the score remains tied, or if no one scores, of course, because it's sudden death, sudden victory, there will actually be a shootout. And that would be 5 players from each team set up at that center hash mark, and they have to release the ball without crossing the 8-meter.
Oh, that sounds exciting.
It does.
That's like the NHL.
Yeah.
So, obviously, we're trying to do as much as we can to make this fast, exciting.
Sure.
Open the field
Check
up.
out the WPLL Futures program at www.wplllfutures.com.
You have to wonder if we'll get to that point this summer.
Well, you'll know because you're in this league and you're playing with a couple of other friends of yours as well from Northwestern, and you guys will figure out about a month into this who's going to be at the end.
Yeah.
We'd like to invite fans after the game to join the pro players.
I have the
Captain Barbecue tent located to the left of the end zone suite for post-game autographs in between the first and second quarter of the Bayhawks game. Our VIP ticket holders will be joined by the pros in a Mission Barbecue meet and greet.
I have the good fortune of having first week be a bye week, so I get to see these rule changes in effect, and maybe share with my teammates a few strategies.
So I just figured out why you're saying all these nice things about everybody. Because you're the one calling the game, but you're going to have to play against them later.
Absolutely, and I'll be playing against this Philly team next week, so definitely doing my scouting due diligence. We'll share back in the team group me shortly.
Yeah, I heard what you said about me.
Got a nice drive home back to New York.
Oh, that's funny.
It's so great, though. You'll see the transition at the end of the game. It's super competitive on the field, but as soon as that final whistle closes, no matter what the score is, no matter who comes out on top, there will be a level of mutual respect that, is super, super special, and just, pure excitement to be in the company of a great group.
That's the camaraderie piece of it. When you're in college and you're playing this and you're totally consumed you think the whole world's doing it.
Sure.
Because it's part of your life. And then when you finally get out and you realize, not really. You know, it's just a few of us that are really doing this compared to the rest of the sports, basketball, softball, baseball, soccer.
Yep.
You know, where there are millions more people playing, you know. And you guys get to do this at the end of the career, stay together, and then it becomes even a tighter group of people.
Absolutely.
You know, as the level gets higher.
You truly do feel like a great defensive effort by the Fire. See if they can hold this brave firepower attack, really.
Well, you can notice every one of the Philly defenders right now has an eye on the ball and an eye on their man.
Yep.
And that's a great way to play man-to-man defense. You've got to see the ball on your man the whole time. So a lot of head on the swivel right now. That's why this Baltimore team hasn't ripped a shot off yet.
Both teams seem to be running a pretty standard man-to-man.
Yeah.
I would be surprised at, this early in the stage to see anything, of a zone, but especially in the behind setup right here, you might be able to play sides a little bit, talk through some screens.
Right.
So you can sort of have a hybrid.
That would be interesting to pull off.
Sure.
So these guys need to score, and they need to score quick, but they need to be smart about it, too. Because they just played a lot of defense. This is a good matchup here. She's due. I think she kind of got tied up there.
Agreed.
The defender got in between the arm and the stick and kind of stopped that follow through.
Great coverage. Definitely seeing the midfielders slow down or touch here, but
yeah,
if you can beat one person up the field, and if everyone does that, then your team is in a good spot.
That's good defense.
Great.
She's looking up too. She's looking for somebody.
Great dodge.
Yeah. Wow.
Wow. All you need is that one step.
I think that was almost like an offhand twister.
Yep. What you'll notice is as soon as she got that space between her and her defender, she didn't peel out to the side. Yeah, Dabrowski, an Ohio State grad, so basically, instead of peeling out to the side and maybe shooting off her back foot with a lower angle, she actually overcorrected and moved back towards a straight line dodge, trying to get as much of an angle on that cage as she could.
And she put it right in the left-hand bottom corner, too. And that is stick side on this goalie. That's a great shot. Like 2 or 3 people under pressure, too.
In moments like that, you're going to see those highlights and flashes of real mental focus and body control, and especially when fatigue is setting in, that's one of the hardest things to do.
Yeah, this is one of those days and one of those games where I think you'd rather play attack than midfield.
The air is a little bit thick.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they've all,
They know, they're into it.
They're into it, and it's both sides, of course, so, as we know. It's pretty good body positioning defensively.
Too many men?
Let's see what they're setting up. Yep, too many. Offsides. And offsides will result in a man-up possession here for the Philly Fire. So used to 7, defensively, already adjusting down to 6 for that coverage. Now you're with 5. It's a lot of space to try to manage.
Welcome to our world now. And you're seeing the same formations that men would run right now.
Yep, one in the middle.
1-3-2 or 2-3-1, and that really breaks that defense off. And that's a great way to run it. So what they're doing is overloading, one of the sides and cutting through it, creating space on that pipe for that backdoor look.
Now they'll have that new shot clock.
It'll be interesting to see number 16 for Baltimore and how she defends this.
Sure.
Because she's on that side where they're going to want to take the shot.
And that'll be Morgan Stevens, UVA graduate.
Yep.
And great. Oh.
Ooh.
That is always a soul-crushing moment for the offensive team when you get stuffed by the goalie trying to make a feed. A great heads-up play there, anticipating.
Yeah. Nobody ever remembers, seems to be the shots you make, but that one they're going to let you know about on the ride home.
You'll carry, for sure. But that's the motivation to, get better. Don't make it happen again. Mistakes are going to happen. You're going to get scored on, whatever. But we always said, as long as you don't get scored on the same way twice, then you're learning.
There you go. I'm going to remember that one. I need that one. Baltimore being really, really patient here.
Oh, my goodness. Amanda Johansson.
Just, tight feed, great catch. That was just a catch cradle shot.
Yeah, and, she had to because she caught that ball on that back pipe, so she didn't have a lot more room to go before she really had no angle. Again, that's that timing, that syncing up eye contact between feet or cutter.
Yep.
And you have to because otherwise you're just cutting for no reason.
It's just one of the prettiest, plays in the game. When someone cuts to the ball like that and catches it quickly and, gives you a nice quick stick in the right spot.
Sure.
And, you just, you don't make that up.
No. And you'll notice that everyone on the field is so dynamic. No one's exclusively a cutter, a dodger, a feeder. So, when they're setting up to feed, you'll notice those attackers. Oh, great goal.
Great job.
Philly needed that one.
Just as you said that, they pull something out like that, and that's what it's going to take to get these guys, to a successful, season for Philly.
Yeah.
But they have what it takes, I think they caught Baltimore, sleeping a little bit.
Sure.
On their 19-8 lead here.
And you know what? As you get later in the game, it's always like scrimmaging yourselves at practice. It's so hard to play against a team that sort of knows your style. Right. So this whole game has been a case study for each team, and now, they kind of have a sense of how each other plays. So when you're still able to find openings, it's very impressive.
Don't you also think that some of these girls are coming from some of the outer outskirt programs like the Floridas and the USCs and South Carolinas and places like wherever they are? They kind of have something to prove against these folks in the Big Ten and the ACC, don't you think?
Absolutely, and I think, that level of competition and holding a high bar for yourself is just something that's going to come naturally to anyone that's competing at this level.
And I bring it up because number one's taking a double team over there. She scored the last goal, or had a part in it.
That's Lauren Lee from Florida.
Yeah, she's not going to give up.
Ooh. Hannah Nielsen. She's probably the Dana Dobie equivalent on this Philly side as far as leadership and seniority goes.
Gotcha.
This Baltimore Brave goalie has been super active of late.
Another thing I think a lot of folks ought to realize when they're watching these games at this level, we tend in the men's world to sub out offensive players for defensive players.
Sure.
But these girls are running both ways.
Yeah.
It's a much different situation.
Almost had a double back-to-back goal there, but
I saw that.
Hit the crossbar.
That was tough. Dump it. Oh.
Change the point of attack. Swoop around to that other side.
That was a good clear.
She might try to isolate a dodge here. Send this wing girl through. Yep. 6.5 minutes left in this game. Great.
That was a great job.
Great goal.
And, Taylor Thornton was really sliding back and forth between the pipes there, really trying to cover that second slide, depending on where it went. That was a great play because she knew what they were going to do.
Yep. This becomes a game of just seeing how close you can tighten it up.
And you know who it is. See if I can get one on you.
Sure.
Fire goal scored by number 2, Abby Burgess. Assistant number 7, Hannah Nielsen. Fire goal, Burgess from Nielsen.
So Baltimore's overloading the defensive side of the field here on this face-off because of the last couple plays, I guess. Let's see what happens. Now, it's interesting. Their backs are to these players this time. Any significance on that, on the face-off?
You know, that's really a draw taker's preference for which way they want to be facing.
Okay.
Oftentimes it has to do with if they're pulling or pushing the draw. Great swim move there. And so that footwork, you know, it's really up to their preferences.
Once you get set, can you switch?
You can move until the ref adds the ball.
Gotcha. So if I wanted to turn around and face the other direction, I can do that?
Yeah.
Put it in?
I think until they leave, actually, you can switch. So that's happened, you know, to me a few times, and especially like with matchups, and if they maybe change out the draw taker or whatnot, or someone does something, you have the opportunity until that ref walks away to really get set. And you can, of course, always ask for a reset if you feel like the ball is unfairly, you know, more in one player's cross than the other.
Oh, you guys actually have rights at the face-off X.
Yeah.
We don't.
Zimmerman again. We know she's lethal from those low angle.
Yeah, just look at that.
Nice and quick. They make it look so easy.
I mean, that is just a classic dodge down the alley, go to X with it, and have a cutter coming down from the crease. And I think that's the first time we haven't seen that classic split dodge.
And I think, you know, Philly is suffering a little bit from fatigue and that lack of communication. You know, as soon as Baltimore starts to move that ball and zip it around, it's really hard to get that second slide, third slide help. So they're really just finding those openings and making Philly pay for it.
Yeah, if you're playing defense inside like that, you need to look away, not look at X where the ball is, but see where your person is that's cutting either behind you or in front of you.
Sure.
And they got caught, I think, looking at the ball.
20-9, 3.5 minutes left.
Well, the folks came to see goals scored.
Yeah.
They got that today.
Pretty dominant performance here by the Brave.
Yeah, who's next on their schedule, Ron?
They, next week, will be playing against the New England Command in Anvil, Maryland, so both victors of games today. So that'll definitely be a matchup to catch. And then my team, the Upstate Pride, will take on the Philly Fire in Westchester, Pennsylvania. So for ticketing, scheduling details, game times, etc., please visit ProWomen'sLax.com and check it out. And if you're in the area or not, make the trip. Come down. It should be, you know, two great matchups.
Great extra effort on that. Almost virtually the same play we just saw Baltimore score on. Philly did it their own way. A little tougher, but that defense that they got to penetrate.
Fire goal scored by number 27, Holly Riley. Assistant number 20, Casey Buckland. Fire goal, Riley from Buckland.
Holly Riley's actually a mom, so you figure, you know, what a great lesson to be sharing with your kids.
Yeah, that's going to be something that everybody around her will be able to take from.
Yeah, absolutely.
So where will the championship game semifinals be played, Lauren?
I believe they're hosting it in Maryland at the U.S. Lacrosse facilities.
Sparks?
Yeah.
TV Field? Great. Here comes another one. Great job.
There you go. Back to back.
I really like the way Phillies kept their composure, and they're not playing frustrated at all. They're just making the right, you know, it's all fundamentals right now. They're not doing anything special. They're just taking advantage of time and space, and they're moving the ball. Some stuff they probably should have done in the first quarter, you know? Not to take away that 5-5 first quarter score, though, but, you know.
Fire goal scored by number 20, Casey Buckland. Assist number 33, Betty Crutchfield.
Sometimes it's just about, you know, when that chemistry clicks and when, you know, you start to get the clarity on what the other team is doing and how you can capitalize. It's a tall task, especially, again, for that first time meeting with team members.
I've been really impressed with the lack of penalties.
Yep.
It's a really clean lacrosse play, a lot of good stuff. And there have been some tough defensive plays, and they didn't throw a flag.
Sure.
So they're letting them play. I like that.
And I think it goes back to your original point about, you know, helmets and how these girls out here, no one's out here to hurt anyone, and especially those that are coaches. Another Philly.
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard of quick goals. I don't know if they could make this happen in 37 seconds, but I love the effort as we're winding down here. It's fantastic.
To your point, I think they're finally getting to know each other.
Yeah.
Because it looks like this team in white's been playing for a month straight.
Sure.
Yes,
So there's a little bit left in the tank, and they can only stand to improve going into next week. Mental note for my scouting report.
Just don't put that online.
Yeah. Heading into what might be the final draw of this game at Navy. Lights are starting to come on. Pretty thankful that the rain held out.
Yeah, that was great.
I don't think the MLL guys are going to be so lucky. They have helmets, though.
Yeah, they'll be okay.
Thank you so much to everyone for tuning in to this competitive game of the WPLL opening weekend. Look forward to hopefully seeing some of you on sidelines. So please do go visit ProWomen'sLax.com, check out the schedule, see if anyone's playing in your area, and always reach out, social media, and grow the game.
Great opening game for the season. A lot of scoring, a lot of action. See some unbelievable players. They're going to find some spots on the USA team and some other really prestigious spots too.
It's your Baltimore Brave 20 and the visiting Philadelphia Flyers 12.
I think you guys are going to have a really exciting summer. It'll be fun.
Yeah, it's going to be super fun.
Oh, yeah.
So great watching this game with you, working with you. Scott, hope you continue to follow.
Yeah. On behalf of the WPLL, we would like to thank
Sam and Jeff for setting this whole thing up. Great job on the backside of this, man. Not a glitch, not a problem.
Including the Brave versus the New York Fight on June 23rd in Northeast Maryland. The Brave versus the Upstate Pride on July 6th in Baltimore. And the WPLL Championship game on July 14th in Sparks, Maryland.
There you have it.
Up next, the Major League Lacrosse Chesapeake Bayhawks will take on the visiting Ohio Machine face-off at 7 p.m. Thank you, and don't forget to join the pro players in the pavilion for autographs. VIP ticket holders will be joined by the pros in a mission barbecue meet and greet between the first and second quarter of the Bayhawks game.
All right.
That's a wrap. Yeah.
Yeah, great setting, great group, great job, guys.
Thank you all for tuning in from home.
Have a great weekend.
We'll see you next time.
What do you desire? What makes you itch? What sort of a situation would you like? So I always ask the question, what would you like to do if money were no object? How would you really enjoy spending your life? Well, it's so amazing. As a result of our kind of educational system, crowds of students say, well, we'd like to be painters, we'd like to be poets, we'd like to be writers, but as everybody knows, you can't earn any money that way. Another person says, well, I'd like to live an out-of-doors life and ride horses. I say, do you want to teach in a riding school? Let's go through with it. What do you want to do? When we finally got down to something which the individual says he really wants to do, I will say to him, you do that. And forget the money. Because if you say that getting the money is the most important thing, you will spend your life completely wasting your time. You'll be doing things you don't like doing in order to go on living, that is, to go on doing things you don't like doing, which is stupid.
The mission is obviously to, provide these women with other opportunities outside of being a professional lacrosse player.
The WPL is a two-pronged approach. One side of it is a platform for the players to play at the highest level possible, playing a brand of lacrosse that's both exciting and fits the athleticism of the sport. The other side of that is the junior development and having a Chasers program, a development program where these younger players can aspire to be WPLL players, can not only get out on the field and play, but also be mentored and learn traits such as leadership, character development, that whole side of it, merging the two. So merging your pro players with the development group to form one awesome league, a two-pronged approach.
It's a perfect opportunity for us to create programming that's going to help them develop personally and professionally. I mean, it's unbelievable the talent that's out there these days. We have Taylor Cummings, who obviously is a huge star in the game. Dana Dobie, she's amazing. She's got tricks up her sleeves. And so putting them in a position to play on a smaller field, making the game faster, the spectators are going to have a blast watching it. We're going to be able to, create mentors that can reach our next generation of young female leaders. Given the level of play and the status of these women, we feel like it is our, responsibility with the reach that they have nationwide to give back.
I think the goal for me when I really talk about the foundation is to support and inspire an entire generation of young women, but using lacrosse as a vehicle to do it. And what the foundation will support is all the leadership and bravery programming that we'll do. It will support the junior pro division, and it'll support the Chasers. So the nonprofit side of the organization is really going to help us fulfill the mission of impacting thousands of girls and an entire generation of women's lacrosse players.
So what I want for these pro women are for them to feel that we are supplying them not only with the lacrosse experience. I think that's just the perk, but the main focus is really to provide them with opportunities to personally and professionally develop. And so for them to get that experience is definitely one of our main goals, but then also to connect those pros with that next generation of leaders, which are those young women that will have an opportunity to be a part of the Futures program. We want to make sure that we are always putting the players first. We're always putting these young women first, and we care about them as people first, and then everything else will fall into place from there.